Hey, welcome. Stacy Bell. There is a name I have not heard in a while. Stacy, I hope you're doing well. I hope your guitar and your voice are still as beautiful as they ever were. It's wonderful to see you. There's Alicia coming in. Christy's coming in. Remember, if you want the best picture quality, go over to J. Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara. That's J. Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara Facebook page. It is a little better picture quality over there, and the streaming is a little bit better too. Sarah's there, and Jolie, and Tom O'Higgins. If you've never met Tom O'Higgins, his, I think, great-grandfather liberated Chile. It was Bernardo O'Higgins, who hid in a barrel at the Santa Rita winery and sort of the Simon Bolivar of Chile. So that dude does not pay for Fernet Branca when he goes to South America. Definitely good stuff. Wasn't live, so I came back here. Oh, no, you're in the right place, Christy. I'm almost positive. And Chris is here and Susan is here. I'm actually going from two different devices on two different Facebook pages. So I'm assuming, for instance, Jolie, are you on the J. Wilkes Facebook page? Or are you on the Wes Hagen Facebook page? So, yep, and we're looking, I see Kip just came in, and Susan, and Zach. All right. And Tim. Hey, Tim. If you guys, let me know which page you're on, just so I know that both of them are working. I went to J. Wilkes again, and nothing live. Huh. I would have thought that this would have been on live on J. Wilkes. I'm going to try one last thing. I'm going to try, let's see, Wes's page. Okay, nothing there. Me too. Okay, so you guys are there. Well, you know, it looks like it's working. I think everyone can find it. Michelle just joined, and Tom is watching. So it looks like we're getting good recording. So let's just roll. Otherwise, I might mess something up and I won't have any picture. So welcome to another Tuesday in our lives, our new lives, and this is Day Drinking with Wes Hagen. Fortunately, I've been very lucky to be sequestered with the love of my life and my two dogs, both of whom I guess like me more than I thought, because, you know, after a couple of weeks, kind of thought that they would look at me and said, hey, I don't think we were part of this program to decide that you guys get to stay home all the time. But as you know, I'm normally on the road at least 200 days out of the year. So this is the longest I've been home since I was at Clopepi, growing grapes and making wine. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects that a lot of winemakers and even some wine drinkers aren't as excited about as I am, and that's going to be Chardonnay. We're going to be doing our short show today. We're going to be tasting one Chardonnay that is absolutely a fantastic value and very delicious, that I've been drinking solid for about a year since it was released, the Ballard Lane. So this is going to be the wine we're going to be talking about today, Ballard Lane Chardonnay. And you can see it has one of those cheesy little stickers that was not my choice to put on, but it did get 90 points from the Wine Enthusiast, and they called the Wine Enthusiast called it a best buy. So let's get to it. It's Day Drinking with Wes Hagen, and I would be. So remember, we open from the collar, and you pop the top. Every day the show's on, the pour gets a little bigger. When you're pouring for your guests, how much wine should you pour? I do not like more than four ounces of wine in my glass. This is a pretty heavy pour for either a restaurant or a home pour. There are times when I'm pouring wine for people that I pour them a short pour and they look at me like I just like made a bad joke about their grandmother. I like to have some kind of swirling room in my glass, and that brings us back to sort of an interesting and fundamental question, like why in the world would we swirl? Well, first of all, it's precocious and it's pretentious, and I guess I'm just used to that stuff. The pretense of it, though, by the actual definition of the word pretense actually makes sense, because it is pretentious. And the pretense is it excites the wine on a molecular basis so we can get it into a vapor phase in the bowl of the glass. And when we stick our nose in it, we get a huge aromatic hit of that brown butter and that nice sort of chalky minerality. A little bit of toasted oak, a little bit of vanilla, maybe a little bit of green plum. A little bit of tropicality, little hints of what I'm picking up is maybe a little pineapple, maybe a little passion fruit. A good deal of French oak in this for sure. Today it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and that is here. It's actually not even 5 o'clock yet, so I'll probably actually go back after 5 o'clock and retaste that wine. But if anyone has any, tonight we would have been dining together in South Pasadena at Bistro de la Guerre. Oh, Bruno. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're definitely going to go back and start doing winemaker dinners again. And I had a lot of time to think about ways of making winemaker dinners fun. And I think I'm going to try to encourage a lot of the winemaker dinners that I do in 2020 and beyond to include cocktail, spirits, and beer as well. And that means matching each course with both a wine as well as something else. So we could do a cocktail contest, try to make very elegant cocktails perfectly matched to the courses that we're doing. I also think beer makes a lot of sense. You know, kind of start the earlier dishes with a nice bright lager, move to some IPAs, some hazies, and then we can, finish with, some stouts and some dark beers. But on top of all that, we can even throw in some of these crazy milkshake stouts now, and some of these fruity milkshake stouts that could be their own dessert. Interesting stuff. So that is kind of where my brain has been recently, is thinking a little bit about winemaker dinners, and when I do get the all clear to go out into the world and having some fun. Yes, Great Lakes Brewing. Do you notice? Are you in Ohio, Catfish? I'll let him. Catfish Billy asked, he said, nice shirt, love it, Great Lakes Brewing. Yes, so this shirt was given to me by my friend Josh Niedermeyer. And Josh is one of my my third geekiest beer friend. But remember, I have Master Cicerone friends too. So he loves Ohio beer. And he brings me Ohio beer, Hop and Frog, the Pappy Van Winkle stout that they do, that they can't call Pappy Van Winkle, but it's called something like that. Oh, it is Josh. Oh, yes. Well, good thing I said nice things about you, brother. Yeah, Josh is in San Diego. He's a San Diego sheriff who's worked at the prison. So thanks for being a first responder and all that crazy stuff. Yes, you brought this shirt to me. This was the shirt you brought to me, and a couple of amazing beers. And I'm now actually following Cincinnati Beer on Reddit and learning a lot about the beers that are coming out of that, because it takes a lot of beer to make wine. But today, we are certainly talking about Chardonnay, and it is 5 o'clock. So, hey, we made it until 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's here. So now we are not only day drinking, we are properly drinking and having some fun. Oh, just had a small earthquake. Wow, in Boise, Idaho? Little earthquake in Boise. Hopefully it wasn't my voice or my annoyingness. Hopefully it wasn't me. I'm not a big believer in sympathetic magic. I think the earth shakes when it wants to shake. But if anything could be profane enough to anger the earth, it would probably be Wes Hagen's drinking show. Cool. So we are at 5 o'clock. Folks are coming in left and right. So I will show you yet again the wine for the day. And we'll be doing a new wine every day until I run out of new wines, and then we'll figure out what the heck we're going to do. Next week, there's going to be a big focus on J. Wilkes. Friday, we're doing the J. Wilkes Viognier and the history of wine part 2, which may actually be a sort of a drunk history thing. I may, with permission, take a couple shots of whiskey or tequila and see if that influences the way that I tell the history of alcohol. That should be kind of fun. Oh, and then Candy just came in, and Thomas Fertel. Welcome, Thomas. Thomas is a very, very important part of our winemaking crew. If you've ever been to a winemaker dinner with me where we show the Smashberry wines, you would know that Thomas is in charge of the Smashberry program. That includes the rosé that we showed you the first day we were here, which is absolutely stunning and at its half price right now, $7.50 a bottle. If you need rosé for the summer, I would put 4 or 5 boxes of that away because we're going to sell that stuff out, and it's absolutely delicious. He also makes the Smashberry red wine that I think we are covering either Wednesday. Thomas actually comes from one of my favorite states in the Union that's struggling a little bit with COVID right now, which is Louisiana. I believe he goes back multi generations in Lafayette, which is another one of my favorite cities in the world. Go Billy's Boudin. If you've never had a fried Boudin ball, you've really never done Louisiana. Or a really good snapping turtle soup. I love reptiles, but I guess I also like eating them because it was absolutely delicious. And I don't think, anything that would eat me if it had its option is actually going to be pretty good. And of course, Thomas Fertel's grandmother was Ruth Fertel, who started a little restaurant in New Orleans called Ruth's Chris, where my best friend is waiting for the Pasadena Ruth's Chris to reopen so he can go back and get his job. So it all comes full circle. So welcome, Thomas, another very, very important part of our winemaking team. Jenny Williamson, Dore. Oh, yeah. Oh, is Jenny in? Oh, Jenny, hello. Say hello to all the people over at Foxen. I am known to say, and don't take this too seriously, but if I had to push a nuke button and destroy every winery in Santa Barbara County, and I could quickly write the name of one that would be saved, Foxen is probably going to be my choice. Oh, that's so hard to say because Au Bon Climat, oh my gosh, Ken Brown. Oh, Longoria. Oh man. Beckman. There's so many different, and there's just so many amazing, but I'm going to go ahead and put Foxen and Longoria as my two choices that I'd have to choose from. They do such an amazing amount of work. And one thing I love about both Longoria and Foxen is the wines are priced as everyday drinking wines to fine wines, but they age like Grand Cru. They age like $150 wines. I remember drinking, I think it was an 87, which was the year I graduated from high school. I could be wrong, but I thought it was an 87 Foxen, Sanford and Benedict. Maybe it was a 97. Jenny, you'd have to tell me if there was a Foxen 87 S&B Pinot Noir made. And I brought it to Baccara, and the sommelier who was working there at the time took it away and said, I don't know what kind of a chance we have. She pulled the cork, came back to the table and said, I've got really good news and some really, really good news. A, it's sound, and B, it's one of the best domestic Pinot Noirs I've ever tasted. And that wine will always resonate with me. So we are day drinking though. So whatever's in your glass, don't stand on ceremony, down the hatch. And remember, like I said, I think, so tomorrow we're going to be talking about evaluating wine. What kind of advanced techniques for evaluating wine as a professional, but also how that can be helpful to you as a consumer. And what I've learned as a wine judge and a wine professional and someone who blends wine for the last 25 years. What are the lessons I learned at Club Pepe? What are the lessons I learned at the 5 different international wine competitions that I judge, as well as what my winemaking team at J. Wilkes and at the Miller Family Wine Company teaches me all the time. Very, very important. Hey, Eddie, it's good to see you, buddy. If you don't know Eddie Gray, then you don't know LA Beer, because they're making some excellent beers. He's selling our wine all over the place, and he's got the Pacific Plate Brewery, which is making some wonderful stuff too. And Chef Scott, welcome, and Candy's on the other page. That's great. I'm watching both pages. If you have comments or questions, you want to tell us what you're drinking, I would love to know. If I had enough, I'd be drinking Tobala Mezcal from obviously from Oaxaca. My buddy Jeff Furchtenicht brought me a little 375 of the only bottle of Tobala Mezcal from this producer, and I've slowly given it to all my friends because it's one of the most mind-blowing spirits I've ever tasted. I'm down to about 2 tastes, and I've got like 2 people I promised to taste it. But boy, I'd kind of prefer to be drinking a little Tobala Mezcal if we were going to be doing some spirits. Let's rephrase and look back at the Ballard Lane Chardonnay. I'll do a couple minutes on that. Then I'm going to tell you a couple things about Chardonnay that I did know and some research that I didn't know. Things you may or may not know about Chardonnay. So this is the Ballard Lane Chardonnay. It is grown. It is Central Coast appellated. It is almost purely Paso Robles. Paso, isn't it too warm to grow Chardonnay in Paso? Well, the cool thing about Chardonnay is you can grow it in any Winkler climate region that applies to wine. Region 1, 1B is probably where Chardonnay, but you can get Chardonnay ripe in the coolest regions in a good year, 9 years out of 10. So region 1, 2, 3, and 4. So region 1, very cool. Region 2, moderate on the cool side. Region 3, moderate on the warm side. Region 4, very warm. And then region 5, raisins, sherry, port, and production grapes like think Bakersfield and those type of areas. Fresno, region 5. Probably too warm for wine grape production, but does really good job of producing very large quantities. Do you know there are actually some table and raisin grape vineyards produce 11 to 12 tons per acre, and they actually put a little with a razor, they actually gird the vine. And when you gird a vine, you make a little line around it. The grapevine actually sends a bunch of hormones out and says, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, make more fruit. And what they found is if you gird a vine, you can get an extra ton to a ton and a half, maybe even 2 tons of fruit per acre. And you gird it like 10 times and the vine dies. And then you rip it up. And what they found is instead of leaving the vine for 20 years for production, viticulture to produce raisins and table grapes, they just gird it 10 times and they rip it out 10 years early and they replant it. And the 2 years it takes to get production back up, they actually still make more fruit, and it's more economically viable than just letting the vines do their thing. 2017, Ballard Lane Chardonnay. Very lucky. We were blessed to get a 90-point score and a Best Buy in the Wine Enthusiast on this wine. Normally on the shelf, it's between $12.99 and $14.99. Right now, we have this wine on special at the Miller Family Wine Company, MillerFamilyWines.com, for 50% off, $7.50 per bottle. I just sent my dad this morning. Last night I was talking to my cousin. She's like, "Hey, you know, your dad is doing great, taking care of your mom or your mom and your mother-in-law. Why don't you, or stepmom, excuse me. Why don't you send him a case of wine?" I'm like, all right. So I sent him a mixed case, including some Chardonnay, to send an entire case from our winery in Santa Maria, tax included, shipping included, 1 cent per case shipping. It was $79. So it'll be in California. You can expect under $80 delivered for Ballard Lane or Ballard Lane Sauvignon Blanc, Ballard Lane Chardonnay, Ballard Lane Zinfandel, Pinot Noir, Ballard Lane Cabernet, Barrel Burner Cabernet, bigger, richer, a little more on the Napa style, Barrel Burner Chardonnay, a little bit oakier, a little figgier, a little more warm climate, as well as the Smashberry Red, a blended red wine, predominantly Cabernet and Merlot, a little bit of Syrah, a little bit of Grenache, or probably my favorite wine of the entire group. I'd say the Ballard Lane Pinot Noir for the money is just mind-blowing. $7.50 for really drinkable Pinot Noir that has a 92-point score. The rosé, the Smashberry rosé. It's a new wine, so it's up in my mouth. It's up in my brain, up in my memory. But that beautiful, mostly Grenache rosé really is beautiful. I think it's 89% Grenache with a little bit of Syrah and a tiny little bit of the grape of the day, Chardonnay. Day drinking. So what should we talk about Chardonnay? So Chardonnay can be grown, like I said, in almost any region. So what can we expect from cool climate Chardonnay as opposed to warm climate Chardonnay? Well, cool climate Chardonnay is going to obviously have higher acid. That's the first thing you're going to notice, is the one's going to be crisp, minerally, bright in your mouth. And you would expect the flavors of apples, green plums, and then depends on the oak treatment. The less oak, the more light and bright the wine's going to be. It's also going to be lighter in color. The heavier the oak treatment, more new barrels, longer time in barrel. It's going to get more of a golden color as it begins to slowly oxidize, sherify, and also show a little bit of the color from the wood the same way clear booze, moonshine going into an oak barrel comes out brown liquor like whiskey. So that's kind of what you would expect in a cool climate. Moderate climates, you're going to lose a little acidity and you're going to gain a little tropicality. Irony here is Santa Maria Valley, very cool climate, does produce some tropical character in Chardonnay, although that normally is more common in warmer climates. So when you find the warm climates, you would expect a little more fig, tropical, pineapple, banana, passion fruit, mango. And of course, Chardonnay is a little like an editorial model. Not really saying what sex the model is. Try to be as ecumenical as I can, but let's imagine that Chardonnay is a model. It's really more about the clothes we hang on Chardonnay and the places that we take Chardonnay for the photo shoot. The place would be the vineyard where the wine was produced, and the clothes are going to be what the winemaker does. There is no other grape on the planet Earth that is as malleable as Chardonnay. Chardonnay, it's all about what the winemaker did to it, where it was grown, how the viticulture was done. For example, you know, if we were growing Chardonnay in Santa Rita Hills, we would grow it mostly on the lowest part of the property that was the most frost prone. So we always had problems with frost. We had problems with mildew. We had problems with disease. Chardonnay, I mean, for kind of a grape that is sort of kind of equivalent of just white wine. It's almost just like, I want a glass of white wine, bring me a glass of Chardonnay. It's not that easy to grow. I think, you know, growing Sauvignon Blanc, you'd probably have easier viticulture, easier yield. You get it off the vines. But nice thing about Chardonnay, it's totally malleable. You can grow it in Lompoc, or you can grow it, you know, up in the San Joaquin Valley, from Region 1 to Region 5. Region 5, Chardonnay is not going to be very good, but my goodness, Santa Rita Hills Chardonnay doesn't get much better than maybe Santa Rita Hills, maybe the real Sonoma Coast pre-Gallo. Sorry if anyone from Gallo is watching, but you guys screwed that AVA up pretty good. As well as regions like Burgundy, regions like Chablis, the Macon. Chardonnay is the greatest white wine variety in the world. Sorry, Riesling. I know Riesling is a little geekier, it's a little sexier, and it's hard to go on the sort of record saying I love Chardonnay, but I love Chardonnay, and if I can only make one wine in Santa Barbara County, it would be Chardonnay, because the Santa Rita Hills and the Santa Maria Valley possibly and potentially are two of the greatest places for the production of quality Chardonnay on the planet Earth. Again, I love Burgundy, I love Chablis, I love Russia, you know, the Russian River, I love Oregon, I love Sonoma Coast. Certainly places in Paso, Edna Valley, San Luis Obispo. For great value, you look at Monterey County, all those areas, Santa Lucia. In fact, I would say the Santa Lucia Highlands might be another one of those places where the Chardonnay is definitely better than the Pinot. I'll take Chardonnay from Santa Lucia over Pinot from Santa Lucia almost any time. Nothing wrong with the Pinot, but I just say the Chardonnay just really does it for me. Okay, then what I wanted to talk about, sort of closing up this idea about Chardonnay, are two things. Where does Chardonnay come from? Because there's so many stories out there. There was a story that, you know, Chardonnay was a native vine around Burgundy, and then there was a story that Chardonnay started in the Middle East, and the Crusaders brought it back to France. And the real story just isn't that sexy. In 2006, Deborah Galino and some of her cohorts at Foundation Plant Material Science, FPMS, in Davis, UC Davis, University of California at Davis, discovered that Chardonnay was actually Pinot Noir times Gouais Blanc. And Gouais Blanc is one of the oldest and most ancient grape varieties. You take Gouais Blanc, you take Pinot Noir, you take Cabernet Franc, and what's the other one? There's one other grape. They basically are the foundation. Muscat of Alexandria is one. But these grapes are the grapes that really are the parents of almost all the grapes. And the cauldron in which these grapes became the varieties that we recognize today is generally in the Languedoc, in a high production, warm region of France, where most of the grape varieties that we recognize today with a French name were probably developed and spread. So that was something that I wanted to share. Oh, let's see if we got some questions. Always Ross Rankins, so that would be the Imagine Sangiovese, beautiful. And then wish we were in South Pass tonight. Me too, Lynette. That would sure be nice. What's the oak influence on this one? It has very nice acid on the finish and beautiful mineral quality. So because of the price point, again, I look at these videos as the people that want to deeply search into what's going on. So I'm not going to try to give you the marketing angle. I'm going to give you the real angle. And on a $12.99 to $14.99 on the shelf, $11, $12 glass pour Chardonnay, if people tell you that it's barrel fermented and barrel aged, they're lying to you. This wine is made in a stainless steel tank, and we use either long oak staves or staves in bags that we submerge in the wine, and either it's stirred on a regular basis or we let it sit in there for months and months on time. We constantly taste the wine to see how it's tasting under the influence of these oak adjuvants. And then when it tastes like it's been in a barrel for a year, we pull it out. And boy, the guys in my winery, Thomas and John and everybody else, they really know their oak, and man, they're good at making a wine taste like it spent a year in the barrel. But will only take $7 and change out of your wallet. So that's the oak isn't so intense that it takes away from the acid structure, the mineral character, and the beauty of this wine. Because I would say, I mean, if someone poured a glass of this wine for you blind and asked what it was, I probably wouldn't say it was under $10. That's for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Spoke about earlier how to tell he'll be doing wine dinners in the future. Yep. Yeah. So believe me, the moment that we start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which is science, I will start making plans to do winemaker events all over Southern California to start. And then I owe New Jersey, New York, Illinois, Arizona, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas. I think those are the states that I've already missed or missing in my travels. So I owe all those states a nice visit. Dick Doré, man, if you don't know Foxen, you don't know Bill or Dick. It's good to see you. And Eric, Chef Oz, dude, I still so remember so fondly my wife and I eating down in Claremont at the Forks, and that he did this dinner for us. We did all this education for his restaurant down in Claremont, Chef Oz, and he was more of a grill chef. His partner was more of a molecular gastronomy foamer guy. And he said, hey, come out with your wife. We'll cook you dinner. So they took every other course. So Eric would cook us a course of meat. And then his chef partner would cook up some amazing, amazing stuff. Like, little like caviar with watermelon that would explode in your mouth when crazy, crazy stuff, sort of Moto type stuff, Wiley Dufresne type stuff. And we went 17 courses deep until we threw the towel in. So, I mean, the courses were so perfect, bite or two, brought in a bunch of wines, tasting. They were bringing us wines. They were bringing us spirits. They were bringing us brown liquor, white liquor. It was amazing. And that restaurant burned down, unfortunately. Yes. And I'll be ready for Texas as well. So funny, growing up, just watching cartoons, I flew into Dallas assuming I was going to see, just seas of desert with saguaro cactuses, and Wile E. Coyote chasing a big upright bird. No, I was so amazed that East Texas is so lush. And they warned me about the heat, and I was there in August, and it was hot. It was triple digits, and not that much far away from that with the intensity of how humid it was. But boy, I got out, I threw frisbees, I had a fun time, I walked around, I didn't stay outside. The only thing I was bummed about is that everyone told me how rad Austin was, and when I visited Austin was the very peak of Pokemon Go. And so like the coolest people in the world, from Austin, Texas, were just all on the street, buried in their phone, basically completely and totally dead to the world. Yes, we were going to have some great events. Oh, you got some molecular skills too. I love it. That was Kyle Connington. Yes, from Single Thread Farms in Sonoma. Beautiful. I love it. Love it. Yes. And Eddie and I, the first event that was canceled from all this madness was an event at the Greek Theater. And I admitted to Eddie that the last time I was at the Greek Theater was seeing Run DMC and the Beastie Boys in 1986, the My Adidas and License to Ill tour. So there you go. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Anything else about Chardonnay? So Pinot Noir times Gouais Blanc. So it's a genetic mutation and a hybrid of two grapes. The best guess we have with the science and that we've done on Chardonnay there was an accidental cross. So these two grapes would have been around Burgundy, and also they're also very close genetic relationships between Gamay Blanc, and Aligoté and Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a parent of those grapes. So what kind of ends up happening is Pinot Noir and Gouais Blanc have their child, Chardonnay, and then Chardonnay somehow basically goes through another mutation and eventually becomes the parent of Gamay Noir, which is really cool. That's why it's always so interesting. Oh yeah. Yeah, no. I thought Run DMC was far better than the Beastie Boys, but the Beastie Boys still had a great time. Oh, my dad's on. Hey, Don Hagen. Thank you for half of the genetics that made me who I am. And there's Ryan on the other one, and Zin Man. I had a really good time putting together a cellar for Ryan. Ryan's wonderful wife, Melissa, bought him a wine cellar for his birthday. So she gave me a lot of money. Not that much, Ryan, but a good amount. And I went in with my wholesale discount and bought him an entire cellar and made sure he had wines for every possible thing you could eat. That was loads of fun. I had a really good time not only buying that wine, but transporting it down to Orange County and dropping it off. But now they've moved from Orange County to the nice cool climes of Bakersfield, California, where I just was. Cool. And Dominic is back. Awesome. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk? Oh, I wanted to talk about one last thing in context with Chardonnay. But damn it, it's going to take some more to wet my brain and say something clever. Day drinking, get it on. Here we go. Here is something that I never understood about wine until I took a class with John Buchenstein at Davis, at UC Davis. And that is, there is a difference between the two words aroma and bouquet. I always thought that aroma and bouquet kind of meant the same thing. What I smell in wine. Actually, it's not true. And I don't believe that these are prescriptive definitions that have to be the same. If someone says, I really like the bouquet of this wine, and it's a brand new wine, I'm not going to stop and say, you're wrong. Bouquet is not meant to describe the aroma of a young wine. So on its most basic level, aroma is what is produced by fermentation. Bouquet, it is what is produced by aging. Now, isn't there time in fermentation? So is a wine aging as it ferments? All right, now we're getting into sort of minutia. So let's just assume that fermentation is its own thing and then aging post-fermentation is its own thing. So if a wine smells like a winery, you walk into a winery during harvest, you're going to smell some of the most delicious smells you've ever smelled. I can just see Dick Doré nodding his head, because you walk into your winery in the middle of September, it smells like freshly baked boysenberry pie. You can smell like almost that crustiness of the yeast. You can smell the fruit beginning to ferment. It's throwing off all those esters. The carbon dioxide is lifting those esters into the sky, into the winery, and the whole winery smells like about the most delicious thing you've ever smelled. Go over to a fermenting barrel of Chardonnay and get over it, and it smells like baking apple pie. It's just amazing, these aromas. That is aroma. You smell kiwi in a Sauvignon Blanc. You smell raspberry in a Zinfandel. You smell cherry or cassis in a Cabernet Sauvignon. That is aroma. So if you were going to choose a fresh fruit to describe in a wine, chances are that's going to be aroma. And it's easy to remember the difference between aroma and bouquet. The way I remember it is, what is a bouquet? A bouquet is a selection of flowers that are killed and they're put in a human area of habitation, and we enjoy the aroma and sight of watching them die. So bouquet is about watching and smelling something die, and aroma is that which is produced by life. Because certainly yeast is life. Not only is it a single cell fungi, but yeast actually created the first chemical bond change that created energy on the planet Earth. The first thing that ever caused a chemical bond change and the creation of energy also created ethanol, alcohol, day drinking as a byproduct of that. So the first thing that ever happened hundreds of millions of years ago on this planet, before there was any multicellular life on the planet Earth, yeast was making alcohol. So it's something amazing. So as that makes life, that's aroma. And bouquet is the smells and flavors that are made as the wine is going through its entropic, it's dying. So hazelnut, bouquet, oak, this is the tough one. Is oak aroma bouquet? It's not produced by fermentation, but we said that fermentation might occur in a barrel. So if it occurs in a barrel, it's aroma. If the barrel is used for aging the wine post-fermentation, is it bouquet? I just like to put the aroma, the flavor aroma of bouquet. I like to talk about the flavor of oak in context of bouquet, because generally oak is used to age a wine. It's also used to ferment a wine, so I get it. So you could say a barrel fermented Chardonnay does have some aromatic principles of oak, but in general, I would say it's all about bouquet. So if there's a little sherry edge to an old Chardonnay, if there's an earthy edge to an old Pinot Noir or a loamy character. So here's the really interesting question. Does complexity exist in wine before it ages? And does the complexity emerge as a result of the baby fat falling off the wine, the fruity young youthfulness, that same fruity youthfulness that defined our faces when we were 18, as it begins to sort of sublimate? Does complexity emerge, or is complexity created? And I think it's both, obviously. Anytime you ask a fundamental question, the answer is always both. But I'm starting to believe that wines are far more complex when they're released than we believe. And then patience allows the richness, the baby fat, the fruit extract of a wine to like drop off, to sublimate, and then the complexity emerges. So is complexity created, or does complexity exist? And the answer is yes. We really don't know these things. It's kind of fun to talk about, though. And Kelly will never look at the flower arrangement the same way. And another great thing, everything has something to teach about wine. Also flowers. If you've ever been into a florist, especially if you've walked into the back room of a florist and you smell that sappy smell of cut flowers, that is the way I identify stem inclusion in Pinot Noir. If I can smell a little bit of stemmy sap, that's how I know that maybe the winemaker left some of the stems in the wine to add a little tannin and flavor, generally in Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir Some winemakers believe in stem inclusion, some of them don't. But that's not Chardonnay, so we're not talking about that today. We've got lots of time to talk about every grape varietal on the planet. Let's see. Oh, so the other thing about Chardonnay, it being the editorial model, and it's more about, very commonly more about how the viticulture and the winemaker posit a style on the wine. Pinot Noir to me is kind of about stepping back and letting the place show. Chardonnay is about me stepping forward and showing what skills I have as a winemaker. So Chardonnay is all about the winemaker and what they do to the wine. And then, of course, there's also the idea of Chablis, which is almost stepping back and using no oak and letting the wine really show itself. So Chardonnay does have a soul by itself. It's just sometimes a little difficult to find. But we have the choice of how much oak we're going to put on it, meaning if we have 10 barrels, let's say we have 100 barrels of Chardonnay. I've got 50 tons of Chardonnay, maybe 45 tons of Chardonnay, and 45 tons of Chardonnay needs 100 barrels. So I start pressing the juice. The juice, I'm going to put it directly into a barrel. I'm going to let the barrel fill up about 2/3 of the way. Then I'm going to stop. Then I'm going to add yeast and some yeast nutrient. Well, stir up the yeast nutrient and then put a little yeast on the top. And the yeast will start within about 48 hours. The wine will start fermenting in the barrel. Now, I can use brand new barrels for that first part of that fermentation, and the wine's going to pick up a lot of that flavor. The question is, am I going to use the same barrels, the same 100 barrels? I would need 130 barrels to ferment 100 barrels to fill 100 barrels once we fill them all up. Why do we leave the space at the top? Because it ferments and it blows bubbles and foam and makes a huge mess unless you leave some headspace in the barrel. Plus, the headspace isn't a big deal because it'll fill with carbon dioxide, because fermentation will, of course, produce that carbon dioxide, which keeps oxygen off of the wine so it doesn't oxidize during that point. Now, once you've fermented the wine in the barrel, you're going to suck the clean wine out of the barrel, dump the sediment out down the drain, and then you're going to fill the barrels up with this nice clean wine. And then how many of those 100 barrels are new? 25 out of 100 are brand new barrels, 25% new oak. 75 of those barrels have been used 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times before. When do we throw out a barrel? When it makes bad wine. I had barrels of Clopeppi I used for 15 years because every year the wine that came out of that barrel would totally kick butt. So I figured, I had 1-year-old barrels that I paid for $1,000 for, or Steve did, thanks Steve, that, $1,000 barrel, I didn't like the wine that came out of it the first year. That barrel became, firewood or, some type of really expensive patio furniture. So the oak level is very important. How long are you going to keep it in barrel? The longer you keep a wine in barrel, the less time you have to age it in bottle for complexity and full maturity. So, every year in barrel to me is like 5 years in the bottle. So if you do a full 24 months in barrel, not many people do it. You don't see it very often at all. But if you did, the wine would be ready to drink very early and wouldn't need as much time in the cellar. And why do we cellar wine anyways? Well, if you've ever had a perfectly aged bottle of wine, you know that having that experience is amazing. And if you can you could theoretically buy at 50% off a $7.50 case of barrel of Ballard Lane Chardonnay, lay them down and open a bottle every year and see how this wine performs after 12 years. There are wines under $20 that have always blown me away. Vouvray, which is Loire Chenin Blanc. It's amazing how well it ages. German and Austrian Riesling, that is not that expensive, ages incredibly well. Beaujolais, Cru Beaujolais from Morgon or Moulin au Vin or Fleury. Beautiful wines and age incredibly, incredibly well. Yes, and D and Michael Watts. Hello, Redlands. Octomali, all my University of Redlands fans. We love that. Cool. Well, let's see. Where does the grape fit into the age line? Wow, Chambers goes deep. So that grape, I think as I was reading some of the stuff about Chardonnay and its parenting, I don't know a lot about that grape. I would have to do a little bit of research on it to see how it how that works out. Yeah. Let's see. All right, cool. Looks like I've got all that good stuff. Again, if you have any questions, I'm going to pretty much sit here and finish my Chardonnay, look for questions. Hopefully tomorrow, again, we're going to be talking about why in the world anyone would want to spend time evaluating wine and not just drinking it. What evaluating wine does for us, how we evaluate wine, and kind of my tricks and my tricks of the trade. And then Mary Rogers again. Welcome again, Mary. So glad you're here with us. If you guys have any questions about Chardonnay, any questions about Ballard Lane, I promised you no more than 10% of purely commercial. Again, go to millerfamilywines.com. Your promo code has changed. Your promo code can now be DD50. Capital D, day drinking 50. 50 means 50% off all of the wines except for J. Wilkes. J. Wilkes are 20% off right now as long as you buy at least a 6-pack. So this delicious 90-point Chardonnay, best buy in the wine enthusiast, is available to you guys right now at $7.50 a bottle. You can also get Ballard Lane Sauvignon Blanc, Ballard Lane Pinot, Ballard Lane Zin, Ballard Lane Cab, which we've all tasted on this program, as well as the Barrel Burner Chardonnay and Cabernet, both 92-point wines. And then you can also get the Smashberry Red or 90-point wine, Smashberry Rosé, also 90-point, all for $7.50. If it was me and I was ordering it for myself, I would probably get a case of Rosé and a case of the Ballard Lane Pinot Noir. The Zin is amazing too. If I had the wherewithal and the place to put it, maybe a mixed case of the Barrel Burners, full case of the Rosé, definitely some of the Ballard Lane Pinot Noir. Chardonnay is absolutely delicious. If Chardonnay is something you drink on a regular basis, I find most of my white wines that I drink now are Viognier and Pinot Blanc. Chardonnays are wonderful and good. I just tend to drink them once I've opened a bottle for samples. Oh, nice, Beth. I hope you're enjoying that Ballard Lane Chardonnay. Just that little hint of brown butter and spice. I really like it. Ah, Vouvray. Michelle knows her stuff. I would say basically the greatest thing, Michelle asked a really good question, and that was our approach to fining or filtering. The Miller family invested almost $250,000 in a cross-flow filtration system. And a cross-flow filtration system does not use paper pads that absorb and you have to pump the wine through to get the particulate matter out. It's more complicated than this, but it sort of throws the wine at itself, and the particulate matter knocks itself out of solution and gets pulled into a membrane. And there's a lot more to it than that, but it is a technological miracle, cross-flow filtration. So all of our wines in the Miller Family Wine Company portfolio, so that's J. Wilkes, Ballard Lane, Barrel Burner, and Smashberry, all go through our very cool and special cross-flow filter. This filter, you can rent it for a day, and I think it's like $1,500 a day. So it's an absolutely wonderful machine. So that makes it so we don't have to beat the wines up, and we can actually get them out of quality control or QC. We normally hold every wine that we bottle for a month, and then we taste it, and then we decide on the release to make sure it's ready to go. Fining, we're not really talking about fining. I guess it would probably be more talking to Anthony Avila, who's the winemaker at Bien Nacido Estate and Solomon Hills Estate. Oh, I just got a message that someone I know got a hole-in-one playing disc golf today. So yay! Glad someone's still going to parks. I've given it up for a little while until I get a spray bottle full of alcohol I can spray on frisbees and discs and baskets. But that's all well and good. Luis, welcome back. Lovely to have you. And Brendan, which parts of the Bien Nacido vineyard are planted on their own roots? Everything that was planted in 1973. So I believe out of the 900 acres there, somewhere between 500 and 600 acres were planted on their own roots in 1973. So Chardonnay, own roots. Pinot Blanc, own roots. Pinot Noir, own roots. Pinot Blanc, I mentioned Pinot Blanc, own roots. I want to say some of either the Syrah or the Grenache is on its own roots as well, but I would have to ask the people up there for sure. Okay, let's see. So unfiltered, no. Basically, commercial wines for broad market, which all of these wines are. We're going for, of the wines that I show you, the J. Wilkes, the Ballard Lane, Barrel Burner, we're trying to get to about 35,000 cases this year. And at 35,000 cases in the broad market, traveling throughout the United States in different climatic situations, you want these wines to be sound as a pound. If the truck breaks down and it gets 75 degrees inside the truck, we don't want those wines to start popping and exploding. So as a result, we bring them we take them through that that gentle filtration, the cross-flow filtration that I described, and that is the best option to keep the wine sound, delicious, and healthy. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, you got it, Brendan. No worries. And looks like Beth's still enjoying it. John Sutter. Yes, dude. The beard looks like it is. It's not quite the way it used to be. Last time I saw you, you look like the dude on Gentle Ben. Absolutely, Don. Happy to do so. If you have any other questions or I missed your question, make sure to. Oh yeah, you order. Thank you, Katie. Oh, Katie Martin. Oh, one of my first crushes of my poor little life. I hope everything's fantastic, Katie. I'm remember your little house in La Cañada by Descanso Gardens. I still drive by it and think about it. It's wonderful. Oh, Kirk, what's up? Good to see you guys. I hope you guys are all well out there in Michigan. Yes, thank you, Katie. To order the wines, you would go to millerfamilywines.com and use the promo code. This is important. Capital D 50. DD50. No spaces, no quotes. We'll get you 50% off all of the wines besides J. Wilkes. They'll all be $7.50, except the cans are $3.75, which are half bottles. So definitely, definitely get over there to Miller Family Wine Company. And the DD50 is the new promo code that means that I sold you the wine through this show. So my boss will be really stoked to know that continuing to keep me on the payroll, which he decided to do last Friday. Woo. No layoffs for this kid. And I feel very, very lucky about that. Thanks to the Miller family for believing that we can come back after all this and really start kicking ass and taking names. Again, I hope you guys have had a fun time day drinking with me for just a little bit of time. Oh, there's Katie Kemp. Everyone wave to Katie. She's the person who takes your orders. Make sure you're getting the best deal. Make sure you get your best discount. Makes all these coupon codes, and she loves kitties. So we will all wave to Katie and say, Katie, I hope your kitties are absolutely wonderful. Thank you for taking care of our website. Thank you for taking care of our orders and sending all of us poor sequestered souls wine in seclusion. So we really appreciate that, Katie. Really do appreciate it. Oh, and Katie's blushing. Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome. Well, I hope you guys all had a fantastic 45 minutes a day drinking. I do come on about 15 minutes early every day to watch you guys and to thank Katie. And thank you again, Katie. You can send cat treats to her via me, and I'll make sure she gets them. And thank you, Susie. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, you know, here's the deal. Last thing I'll kind of say is, we are having a big meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow to figure out the future of what we're going to do with these Facebook Lives and Zooms, and which platform we're going to use and how we're going to make it meaningful. Nicholas Miller really wants me to fine-tune some of this content for the J. Wilkes Wine Club. So I think I'm going to put out there tomorrow that I would like to continue doing this for the general public, but then make it a more sort of off-the-cuff, fun little hangout that we can do maybe once or twice a week. And then maybe once a week do this specifically for the J. Wilkes Wine Club. So you'll probably notice next week I'll be doing more J. Wilkes wines, and I'll probably be trying to convince all of you to potentially join the J. Wilkes Wine Club with some incredible, amazing offer that you won't be able to say no to. And then hopefully let us prove to you that we want you to stay in the J. Wilkes Wine Club, and we'll work for you guys to do that. This also includes our clubhouse. We do have that wonderful property, you know, three doors down off of the sand in Santa Barbara, right off Stearns Wharf, the J. Wilkes Wine's tasting room down there. It's absolutely fantastic. And that would be your clubhouse with free sips whenever you want to stop by when you're in Santa Barbara. So that's something that we love to have. Cool enough. Well, all of you guys have done such an absolutely wonderful time. Michelle did ask a quick question. With such production, inoculated yeast almost every time. All the wines at Biennacido Estate and Solomon Hills Estate, the expensive wines, $50 to $75, $35 to $80, they're all made with no added yeast. Just the yeast that comes in on the grapes. I call it feral yeast, but we use 100% inoculated yeast in the winery to produce the J. Wilkes, Ballard Lane, Barrel Burner, and Smashberry wines. And those yeasts are incredibly carefully chosen for exactly the type and style of wine that we want to make. Cool enough. I promise, as in all things, I'm going to go spend some time loving up on the wife, making sure she realizes that we're in this together, and give the doggies a couple pets, start making some dinner. But I will go through this both versions of this Facebook Live and make sure if there's any questions that we're not taken care of, I will certainly make sure that I give you a good long answer. My email address is whagen, Hagen, @jwilkes.com. You can always send me ideas for shows. Hey, I want to learn about Croatian wine. I want to learn about the history of Kvevrý and ancient clay vessels in winemaking. I want to watch a video of you taking 5 shots of tequila and trying to describe how sugar becomes alcohol. Whatever you want to do, suggest it and I'll make it happy. And Kirk, I will definitely pass along your greeting to Chanda, and certainly she misses your massage. And I don't say that to many men, nor do I let many men touch my wife, but Kirk he's a magic man, and we appreciate him. Cool. Love to the fams, love to all of you, love to every single person who's watching this now, who's watching it in the future. And remember, come on by tomorrow. We're going to have a little master class on wine evaluation, how to taste wine, how to evaluate wine. And does it even matter? I think that's a big and important question. All right, guys, a theme: old world versus new world characteristics. You know, it would be really fun with that, Peter, mayor of Chino Hills, and man who got like 50 RSVPs to Owen's Bistro before we canceled the show. That sounds awesome. And what I would like to do is we'll do like a J. Wilkes Chardonnay and a white Burgundy, and we'll do a J. Wilkes Pinot Noir and a red Burgundy, and we'll do a cab with a Bordeaux, left bank Bordeaux. So I love the idea. I love that idea. Old world versus new world. I'm writing it down. Excuse me. I can't tell if I'm talking too fast or not drinking fast enough. It is 5:50, so I've been on my hour. But again, if you want to come in early, I'm always on before 5 o'clock, and I usually stay on until just after 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then it runs till about 6 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, remember, Mondays are general wine education. Wednesdays are advanced wine education and or requests. Friday is in the business and viticulture and enology, meaning how to grow grapes and make wine. If you have a vineyard in your backyard, you want a vineyard in your backyard, you're a home winemaker, or you're just curious about how wine is made, boom, that's what we do on Fridays. Saturdays, we get in a Zoom hang room and we just chat. It's just a hang, and we talk about what we're drinking, and we see how much we can get in there. And then that's it. And then Sundays, because of my grandfather's Presbyterian ministration, I'm just kidding. I take Sunday off. It's my day of rest. Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Susie asked me to post some information on the Cellar Masters website. Yeah, be happy to, absolutely, to do that, especially for those Friday meetings. And I think this Friday we're finishing up, I think we're finishing up the history of wine. Cool, yeah, and as of tomorrow, my new job will also entail making sure I have all the subjects for these talks 2 weeks in advance so we can put a calendar up someplace. So as we get those calendars up, I will definitely put them both on the J. Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara Facebook page as well as the Wes Hagen Facebook page. And I hope that all works out. So fantastic hanging out with you all. Go out there, drink more wine, buy more wine. Wine was up 66% last week in sales, the biggest increase in wine sales. Remember, friends don't let friends drink seltzer. Seltzers do not need your love right now. Wine and beer does. So if it has to be spirits, that's great too. But think about the fact, even though wine might have a few more calories than seltzer, that wine by far has a number of phenolic and polyphenolic compounds as well as resveratrol that will actually be far healthier for you than drinking seltzer. So friends don't let friends drink seltzer, drink a lot of red wine. It's good for your soul, good for your body. Cool, guys, and I hope all of you had a fantastic time, and let's get together again really soon. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you all real soon.